So, this is what they taught us to do. You get up, and you don't say anything, and you look around. And they're like, whoa, he's not saying anything. Then you ask two questions. How many of you would like to improve your Japa? Or any question you want to ask. How many of you would like to be blissful for the rest of your life? Thank you. And then the reason I didn't let him introduce me is they say, you should introduce yourself in relation to the topic. Like, why is this guy teaching about Japa? What does he know? Not like, yeah, I was born here, I did this and that. That's okay, but why are you here? And thank you all for coming. I'm honored that you're here, etc., etc. And then you ask this question, is it okay if I tell you a little something about myself? Of course, you're going to say no, right? I don't know about you, I don't know about Japa. So, I met Prabhupada in 1969, so I was initiated 53 plus 9 months ago. So I've had quite a while to experiment with Japa, but something happened, I don't know, when Satyananda Swami first came, you did the first, you were in the first group of Japa, and then the second one I did, when was that, like 15 years ago or something like that? So the second one came, and Maharaj was supposed to come, and he was ill and he couldn't come, and I was already working with the organizers to do other things, and they said, you have to come, and I said, I'm too busy. Ever been too busy? Or, you should come, I'm too busy. You know what I mean? And he asked me like 3 times, you have to come. We don't have facilitators. And I was already teaching about Japa. And I remember, you were at that one. He was at that one, and he said for they had to put their birthday down. Was it you who said that? Birthday, and he said, today was my birthday because I finally chanted Japa. You're the one that said that. I know. You said something like, it seems like this is a new mantra I've never chanted before. Did you? Said something like that. What did you guys spike this mantra with? This retreat, this is different mantra. I think you said something like that. Yeah. Did you give me a new mantra? So as soon as I walked into that space, I was like, I need this. I could feel it. Gauravani was there also. I could feel I really need this. And from that day, so I've been a devotee like, 37 years at that point, and on that day my Japa changed forever, for the better. Same for you? Same for you? So. You're supposed to say yes.
I want to give you more teaching opportunities.
No. This is proof it worked because he's humble. So it did work. And then I've been able to facilitate from that time many Japa retreats and workshops in many, many countries. So the benefit of that is I get feedback from people, both on what is their problem and what has worked. And so we have an hour, not even an hour and a half now, an hour and 18 minutes to do what I normally do in 12 hours to 16 hours. And it'd be a lot easier if you gave me 16 hours than an hour and 18 minutes. So we're going to try to just condense and hit the spots of what I think are the most important things. Now, we wanted to create it in the context of through thick and thin. And I also thought there was another context. I don't know if we discussed this. Real men chant real Japa, something like that. I think they're similar in the sense that when Prabhupada came to America, why do you think he came? He put a lot of faith in the holy name. Because without that, I don't think he would have come. He was just like, these guys are hopeless, forget it. But he said on the boat, I have faith in the holy name. And if you study Prabhupada's preaching, you'll always see whatever's going on, he's saying, make sure you chant your 16 rounds. It's like, how many letters? 1,500, 1,200 letters like that. I was with a devotee in 1975. I was traveling in California. And he told me, I'm so busy, I'm only chanting 8 rounds. And he said, every letter I get from Prabhupada, to him personally, says, make sure you're chanting your rounds. Like Prabhupada knew. So, Prabhupada put a lot of faith in 16 rounds. Yes? Yes. Now, can you all close your eyes because I want to ask you a question and I don't want anyone else to know the answer. So, if you all can close your eyes. How many of you, just raise your hand if you're chanting 16 or more rounds? Okay, you can put your hands down. How many of you are chanting less than 16? How many of you are chanting less than 8? Less than 4? How many of you are not chanting at all? Okay, well, that's good. Okay, you can open your eyes. That's another teaching technique because you don't want to embarrass people. And they may not raise their hands because now everybody knows, like. So you just close your eyes. And it's okay. That was not to intimidate anybody. I just wanted to know because if there are people who aren't even chanting, then it may not be so relevant. So, can you all say this? What does that mean? Can anybody kind of figure it out? Yes, I do not.
You can't dance if you're thinking about dancing. You can't dance if you're planning on dancing. You can't dance if you're trying to figure other things out. You can only dance when you're dancing.
You need a new t-shirt. No, then we can change this. You can only chant when you're chanting. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Something
so
like
when I chant, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm being present.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. You had okay, that's it. Yeah, he got it. I have a picture on my computer. Wow. Are we hooked up? I want to show you a picture. If we can get this to work.
Beautiful picture.
I had a weird thing happen today where I can't get out of this picture. It's like, we need some Indian to come to the front. Any Indian will do.
Not all of us are IT.
Doesn't matter, you can still figure it out. See, look at that. You're just getting Indians to look at it. I have to bring it up. I had it on my. No, you can't look at that. That's confidential.
It's very stereotyping.
Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, I want to show you a picture. Yeah, here we go. You just see what you're all missing. If you go, I have a full Japa retreat online. So if you like what I'm talking about, I'll give you the address and then you can take the course online. It's like 20 hours or whatever. So, this is called, what I call leaving your world, unplugging from your world. So, what I've seen through my experience, the perennial question devotees have is, how do I control my mind when I chant japa? And there's 2 things I can teach, and this is the first thing. The main problem is you're in your life while you're chanting. That's why there's all this other stuff on your mind. And when you're not in your life, why would all this other stuff be in your mind? Generally, it's not. So my answer is, how do I control my mind when I chant japa? It's like, you can't, unless you unplug. Because as long as you're plugged in, you're plugged into the office or the to-do list or whatever, right? So we call this unplugging. We have some pictures. And I think maybe it was similar to what you were saying. I have a saying, you have to be out of your mind to chant japa. Right? In other words, you have to be, you say out of your mind, out of your life. So we have some pictures here. This is what I call plugged in. Can you relate? Raise your hand if you can relate to this. So now you're asking the question, how do I control my mind? And you're doing this. It doesn't work. It's like, don't even try. Don't try to control your mind. Try to unplug, right? And so, we have some more pictures for you, but I think that it's pretty obvious what we're talking about here. So this is my experience, and I know this is a very simple concept, and sometimes when things are simple, we kind of take them for granted, or we don't think they're as profound as they really are. If you can do this, you've solved about 90% of the problem of controlling your mind. And so, how do you do this? There's some ways we can think. The other day I was chanting, and at a certain point, as we all have, I realized I wasn't thinking of Krishna. You ever done that? Like, chant Hare Krishna and not think of Krishna. Have you done that before? Yeah. I mean, you guys are amazing. Turn to the person next to you and tell them, you are amazing. How did you do that? This was another technique we learned, which was to just change your consciousness and then come back. So you turn to the person next to you, you just shift. But it's fun. And learning should be fun, right? So, in my experience, to be able to do this, it's not a technique, it's a consciousness. So I'm chanting, and I'm realizing I'm not thinking of Krishna. And then the next thought was, Krishna is here. Jiva Goswami says Krishna is an incarnation of syllables. The incarnation of syllables is sitting with me, he's right here, and I'm totally neglecting it. And it's like, okay, done that with my wife a lot, I've done that with other people a lot, but I'm doing it with Krishna. This is not good. Right? And so it's a consciousness that I'm chanting with Krishna, quality time, one-on-one, and I'm not there. I'm entering it, and I'm not focused on that. That's not my world. I'm still in another world. I've got my phone on, something else is going on. So, as I said, it's not a technique, it's actually a state of consciousness. Rabindra Srila Prabhupada, in that workshop, if you remember, he said, give Krishna the courtesy of your attention. Give Krishna the courtesy of your attention. So just as you'd be courteous to someone who you respect, who you want to develop a relationship with, that's all this really is. It's a consciousness. So, I had a realization one day. I was chanting really bad japa. Raise your hand if you've ever chanted really bad japa. Well, at least we agree on something. It's hard to get all of us to agree on something, but we agree that we've all chanted bad japa. We're unified, right? So, I was chanting bad japa. One of those weeks, like, you ever have that? You're chanting, you're sitting down, it's bad. You stand up, it's bad. You go outside, it's bad. You walk, it's bad. You read a verse, it's bad. You don't have one of those days? Yeah. I had one of those weeks. Right? which is awkward because I teach how to do it well. So that's like worse for me than for you. Right? If I do it, that's bad. So I had this really amazing experience one day. This was like the 6th day of really bad japa. And I picked up my beads, it's like 5 in the morning, whatever, and I put my hand on my beads and I heard a little voice in my head. And it said, "Oh no, here we go again." And I realized that voice was going off a lot, but I'd never heard it before. Can you relate? You think that voice has gone off for you, ever? But I had a real realization about what caused that voice to go off. Well, obviously, it was the past 5-6 days of that japa. But it was as soon as I touched my bead, it went off. Something happened. I just want you to know, for the record, as soon as you touch your beads, something is happening to you. Either good, bad, or indifferent. It's actually going on. And here in Vrindavan, I don't know when it was, 10 years ago, we had this festival of inspiration, probably. So it was time for japa, and I was sitting next to Davida. We just happened to be next to one another, and he pulled out his bead, and he said something to himself, which I heard. And this is what he said. Would you like to hear what he said?
Yes.
Would you like to hear what he said?
Yes.
He said, "Now is the time for my favorite activity." So when he hits his beads, that's what's going off in his head. When you hit your beads, that can go off in your head, or the other thing can go off in your head. Or as some people say, who have chanted japa, I'm going to go back to the other. During japa is a great time to think about things and get creative and how to organize things and do our service in different ways. Prabhu, I'm thinking about service. No, that's not japa. Prabhu, I'm thinking about verses and philosophy and shlokas. Okay, that's better bad japa. That's not, you're not listening to your wife, but you're thinking, maybe I'll paint the house. But that's better than just listening to her thinking about whatever else you want to do. So another realization I had, and I think this is super important for us. And this brings in like the real men thing. There was Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and one other multi-billionaire sitting together at some function. I don't know the details. And some man thought, oh my God, these three are together. These are like the 3 wealthiest people in the world. I could ask them, how'd you do it? What's your secret? So he went up to them, and this is a funny story. He went up to them, and he said, excuse me, but it's a rare opportunity, etc. Could I ask you, what is your secret? And they didn't look at one another. They all 3 simultaneously said, focus. Now, what do you do during japa? Or what are we supposed to do during japa? We're supposed to focus. And I thought, this is really interesting. Just from a material perspective, although we don't want to talk about japa materially, but just from a material perspective, we have an opportunity to practice focus 2 hours a day. And what would that do for the rest of your life if you had that intensive focus? It would make a difference. What to speak of the benefit of japa itself. So, what happens when you do something every day for 2 hours, or however long you do it? What happens? You build what? Habits, right? So, another thing to consider is when you put your hand in your bead bag, you're probably going to chant the same way you've been chanting last week, last month, last year, last decade, or so forth. That's just normal because those habits are building themselves up. So when I did multiple japa workshops, I noticed something changed. My habits changed. My japa, if it went down to a certain point, I bounced it back up. It's just good japa became more of a standard. And we found as teachers and as leaders that japa is, a lot of people don't chant good japa to our detriment. So I want to go back to this idea of how important it was for Srila Prabhupada for us to chant good japa. Now, there's different kinds of japa. And there's one japa which I call, and I think you'll understand it even if some of you who weren't born in America may not understand this word. If you don't understand this word, the word means what it feels like. And this is a certain kind of japa that I see pervading our movement, especially in temples, on the second hour of the japa class. You know the second hour of japa, have you noticed? I travel to a lot of temples, so the first hour starts out Hare Krishna, Krishna, and it kind of slows down. In the second hour, like the intensity slows, have you noticed? People start talking, leading. This is the kind of japa that I see a lot. It goes something like this. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's the Maha mantra, but the mood is blah, 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 blah. You ever feel that way? Blah. And raise your hand if you ever chanted blah japa. Just get it done. So, here's another scary thing about blah japa. A lot of the japa workshops I do, I ask devotees to rate their japa, let's say for the last few months, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being prema, and 1 being something like, later. That's 1. Ever done that? And as my daughter said, don't trust your future self. I'll do it later, yeah. So we asked devotees on a scale of 1 to 10, with 5 being not bad, not good. Like 5's kind of like, probably have to come back and take another birth, you know. Like, get about 5, it's good. And if I get 7 or 8, you know, it's like 7 or 8, yeah. 10, 5 is like this, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I've probably done this, oh my God, I must have done this test with, I think, 3,500 devotees or something, probably more. Would you like to guess where the average devotee in the Hare Krishna, you know what's called the Hare Krishna movement, you heard of that? In the Hare Krishna movement, the average quality of japa, what do you think it is on a scale of
6.
4.
You're all right, 4 to 6.
Yes.
But 27 or so percent are below 4, and about 22% are above 6. So that is interesting in a sad way, don't you think? It means we're not emphasizing japa enough. So, point number 1, I want to make this again as much as I can. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. And if you love this shirt, there's a few left. The first few fortunate people that hit that table. Again, I'm going to say this again because I just want you to get it. This is my experience. If you can unplug, that's going to be about 90% of your problem in focusing on the mantra. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Like, how do you unplug? You have to give importance to this. It can't be like, oh, it's just another thing, you know, chant, eat, feast, you know. No, it's not another thing. This is the one thing Prabhupada asked us to do. So if we can give enough importance to it, it's going to be a lot easier to do this. When in 2012, a devotee was asking me to take initiation. I had successfully refused all previous requests, but this devotee was annoyingly persistent. And like Prabhupada was asked, why are you giving all these young men sannyas? He goes, they're just bothering me. I just want to get rid of them. Stop bothering me. So it's kind of like, okay, am I going to actually have to do this? I'll kill myself if you don't do it. You know, it was one of those things. And I was thinking, this is going to sound really funny, but I'm totally serious. I was thinking, you know, I'm teaching, I'm preaching, I'm counseling, and I might as well get paid for it. So if I become a guru, I get paid for it. I mean, it's just true. It's just the reality of this one. So I had a lot of projects, I needed a lot of help. I know Prabhupada wanted me to do this, and so I did it. But at that point in my life, chanting the holy name became extremely important for me because I felt like Krishna, I'm like right on the edge now, and I'm gonna, you know, they say jump off the cliff, the net will follow. I said, well, Krishna, if there's no net, this is gonna be a problem. And from that point, I felt, okay, my duty now, and I think this is all of our duties, or any leader, I think my duty now is to be an example of what I teach. I have to live this. If I'm teaching and I don't live it, it's completely bogus. So at that point in my life, Japa had become like 10,000 times more important to me because I realized that this is everything. If I don't get this, I cannot be an example. I cannot give the guidance I need to give to people. I cannot set the example. I cannot do the austerity. I cannot get the realizations I need to, you know, I have to know what I'm talking about. And so at that point, that kicked my japa up. And so I think also it's really helpful for all of us if you're willing to take a step into something a little more difficult, a little beyond your comfort zone, because it forces you. I have no choice now but to chant better rounds. I have to. So I became extremely dependent on japa, so much so that those 2 hours are really important. Like I can't blow this, because I have to do this well. But I don't think it's just true for me. I think it's true for all of us, but we all don't realize it. Like when you sit down for those 2 hours, those are the most important 2 hours of your day for your spiritual advancement. And everything else you're doing, you might say, but what about Bhagavatam? Philosophically speaking, we can make an argument that everything else is supporting your japa. Your Gayatri mantra, your study of Bhagavatam, your Sangha, everything is supporting that, because Shastra says it's the most important. So if you feel that way, that this is the most important thing, I really have to focus on this, then that you automatically do it. That's just what's going to happen, because you have to do that to be able to chant well. Does that make sense? So that I think is extremely important for us. And what we see, all of us who are leaders, what we see is that during japa, most devotees, or many, don't have that mood. It's just like blah, 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 blah. And it's very sad, and it's affecting devotees in their spiritual lives. And a lot of problems that devotees have is because of this. Their japa is not good. You know, Prabhupada's giving us like a lot of high things to do, and you can't do them without good japa. It's just a reality. And that's, sometimes I feel, I don't know if you ever felt this way, Kalakanta and Uttamam, Krishna's Kala, sometimes I'm preaching and I'm thinking, can we actually do this? Are we trying to do the impossible? Like, can people actually become purified? You ever feel that way? It's like, maybe I should just, go to the Bahamas and retire, because, I'm working really hard and still devotees are having lots of problems. But I feel from a personal experience and my experience in teaching that a lot of this is due to japa that's substandard. In other words, Prabhupada's mission and what he wanted to accomplish requires good japa. You can't do it without it. That's my realization. I'll give you an example. Does that make sense to you? Yes. Turn to the person next to you and tell them, that makes sense for you. So, I have some pramanam I have some pramanam for this. It's evidence. It's from a letter. Some people don't think letters are evidence. That's another topic. But there was a devotee who said letters aren't evidence, and we went through one of his books and he quoted, what did you remember, Colin? He quoted letters like 4,872, but there weren't that many letters. Anyway, he quoted letters like 60 times and he said letters are not evidence. The fact is, letters are sometimes the only evidence you have for certain things. Anyway, you guys don't worry about this. Anyway, but some of us leaders have to worry about this stuff. Anyway, so this devotee writes Prabhupada with a laundry list of problems. I don't feel like getting up. Raise your hand if you ever felt like it. You don't have to raise your hand on all of these, but these are things that we've all gone through. I don't feel like chanting. I'm not inspired. I just feel like eating. I don't like the devotee. You know, it was just like anything bad that could happen. But the answer was so interesting. Prabhupada looked at the letter and he said, I can see from these symptoms you are committing offenses to the holy name. Isn't that interesting? You can all say, wow, now. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Okay, we'll do this again. Prabhupada said, by reading your letter, I can understand you're committing offenses to the holy name. Wow. Don't you think that was wow-worthy, that letter? Yeah. The profundity? There's a devotee, he has another word for wow-worthy, he calls it jai-worthy. Turn to the person next to you and say, that letter was jai-worthy, Prabhu. Yeah. So, I have a story. This is really funny. And I was very innocent when I said it, but there was a period of time I was, by Krishna's arrangement, I was facilitating Japa retreats. So it's like really special when you get to facilitate it because you have to do what you're telling your students to do. You feel obliged. So every retreat, my job was going like, and then, 3 weeks later it goes down, but then I get to go to the next retreat, so even if it goes down, I'm like, I'm way up there. So this was like 3 months. It was like amazing. My Japa was so good. And a devotee I hadn't seen in like a few years, he goes, oh, Prabhu, how are you doing? And just spontaneously, naively, innocently, I said, I'm doing great. I haven't seen Maya in months. And he was like, aren't you humble? and I didn't realize what I said. What I was trying to say is like I haven't seen Maya in months. That's what I was trying to say. But because I'm chanting, I'm doing so well now. My job is so good. I actually feel like I don't know. We had a big talk on Maya, but for me, during those few months, Maya didn't really visit me. I didn't visit her. I didn't really see her in the illusory sense. That Maya, I didn't. And I think it didn't stay that way because my Japa then was probably better than it's ever been. But I think it's important for us to understand that we should have the faith that Prabhupada had in the Holy Name of what it can do for us. And that faith can put us in this consciousness. Yes, when I sit down and chant, I have to totally unplug. I have to totally focus, and I have to be in the right consciousness. Does that make sense? So I thought what we could do is try to kind of help that consciousness. So here's a huge problem that I get. And it comes especially from people who have been raised in ritualistic religions, or people who are perhaps very, show me how to do it practically, just tell me how to do it. So it comes like this. Prabhu, how long should it take to chant around? I say, well, if you're fast, 5 minutes. If you're slow, 10 minutes. Most devotees are like around 7, 8, 7.5, 8 and 10 seconds. No, I need to know exactly how long it should take. And you're thinking, I'm making this up. No, this is true, real life. No. I need to know. Tell me exactly how long it should take. Can you relate? Prabhuji, is it okay to chant when you stand up? And you're thinking, why would anybody ask that question? You know how many times I've got this question? A lot. It's a common, is it okay to chant when I walk? Do I need to chant from my altar? Should I be facing east when I chant? Is it bad if I chant after 8 o'clock? What if I chant rounds left? Like all these questions. What's going on? What's going on in their heart? They're looking at japa as a process. And if you perfect the process, you perfect the japa. It's kind of like smarta japa, right? Smarta Brahman's like, I did the process. How many of you know what a smarta Brahman is? Yeah. If you chanted the mantra perfectly, you did the ritual perfectly, it's a success. Doesn't matter where your heart was, with any feeling or devotion. So what we have tried to do, the teachers of japa retreats, we have tried to make the point, it's not just a process. I mean, it is a process, it's not a ritualistic process that is perfected by any specific technique, but it's a relationship between you and Krishna. That's number one. So every morning, you're sitting down to do what? To work on your relationship. Here's a beautiful thought, and I wish it came from me. I wish I was that smart. It didn't. It came from Chaitanya Charan, so I want to give him credit for it. If you ever sat down to chant japa and you're really busy, and you'd rather be doing the things you have to do because your to-do list is like off the charts, and you're thinking, I just got to get this done, I'm going to do these things, right? And you ever felt like you're wasting time chanting japa because you've got so many things to do? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu has solved this problem. If you think you're not really doing anything when you're chanting japa, you are wrong. You are doing the most important thing. You are working. What are you working on? Your relationship with Krishna. When I heard that, I thought, that is jai-worthy.
Jai.
Isn't it? That was a jai-worthy one. Yeah. You are working. So these are things that can help us when we're sitting down in our mind. It's like, got to do this, got to do that, or it's just wandering. What I call lunar japa, you're on the moon, and solar japa, you're just all over the place. You ever done lunar japa? Raise your hand if you've done lunar japa.
Yes.
Lunar, sonar, universal, to do japa, what's for lunch japa, all that for breakfast. You've done it? What's for breakfast japa? Maybe we're brahmacharis.
I'm ashamed to say what I do.
Yeah. We're doing something internally other than chanting, right? So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given something to help us. He said, we should connect emotionally to the holy name through connecting with what it means. Does that make sense, or should I say that? Okay, I'll make sense of it. Something we take for granted. The holy name means, Krishna, I want to engage in your service. Please engage me in your service. I want to expand on this because this is so beautiful. Here's my joke, The temple president comes and asks, says, why aren't you chanting japa this morning? He said, Prabhu, I got too much service. If I chant japa, I'll get more service. I'll have a nervous breakdown. So these next 2 days, I'm not chanting japa. Like that's the common thing, You ask a devotee to do something, he says, I'm chanting japa, and then you go, he's chanting japa. He's asking for service. I give him service, and he says no. But it's not actually like that exactly. a little bit, but not exactly. The way Prabhupada explained, well, Bhakti Siddhanta said, the service mentality. The mood, what is the service mentality? I'm not enjoyer, I'm not controller, I am servant. That's the service mentality. That's what he's really talking about. The mentality that I'm a servant, which is like the solution to every problem you'll ever have. Every problem you have, if you analyze it, is because I'm thinking I'm an enjoyer or a controller, Purushabha. Isn't it? Ultimately. So this is what Bhakti Siddhanta says. It's so beautiful. Would you like to hear what he said?
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to hear what he said?
Yes.
This is what we learn because we do workshops like 12 hours a day. If you don't do this, you can't go 12 hours a day, but you could do 12 hours a day if you do this. And people don't even know where the time is. They're like, wow, it's 12 hours. They have fun, yeah. So he said, and this you might think is not exactly what Prabhupada said, but Prabhupada did say this. It seems like he didn't, but if you investigate Prabhupada, what you'll find, he said it. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said, the holy name does not descend until the chanter chants in the mood of service. Like with the identity that I'm a servant, or at least with the prayer for being in that identity. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Please help me be in the consciousness that I am your servant. I mean, that's what we're trying to develop every morning, because I think I'm an enjoyer. Have you ever looked at something and think, that's nice for me? Duh, of course, I do that all day, right? What's happening when we're doing that? We just forgot that I'm a servant. I mean, we're all guys. We look at girls and go, oh, she's nice. What just happened? You forgot you were a servant and you started thinking, I'm an enjoyer. Yes or yes?
Yes.
That's just the truth, right? Now do you understand why it's important to pray to be servant? Because if you actually were, then any form of Maya, like whatever, not interesting to me, because I only can use it in Krishna service, right? That's it. Nothing is attractive if I can't use it for Krishna service. So he said, that's the real holy name. Everything else is not real. Prabhupada said something interesting. He said, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're praying, Krishna, put me under the control of your internal potency, your spiritual potency, and protect me from your material potency, from mine. So that's what we're doing. In other words, it's like we're going into some kind of spiritual therapy, self-hypnosis kind of therapy. Please help me stay under the shelter of your holy name. Under the shelter of the sort of Shakti, the spiritual energy. Please protect me from the influence of Maya. Now, you got that? Is that clear? Yes? No. Is it not clear? Raise your hand. It's not. Okay. So, now, here's the creme de la creme of what I could teach you, and then I think we should chant a little together. Every morning, we are saying the holy name. Krishna is coming. Radha is coming in that name. And it's your Radha and it's your Krishna because you're making it. Right? Like your Radha and Krishna are coming, appearing to you when you say Hare Krishna. Those are your deities of sound. Your particular deities, your own. Wow. You could say wow. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Like these are your own deities. Now, we'll take wow on steroids. They're there.
Wow!
And what are you doing? What's for breakfast? Why did my wife have to say that? I don't want to go to work today. No. We're praying, Krishna, please help me become a servant. Krishna, please protect me from my own self. Krishna, purify me. Bring me closer. Whatever you want to pray for. That's Japa. Does that make sense? My Japa workshops are solely focused on teaching you what is not Japa and what is. And once you understand what is, you can never go back to what isn't, because it's a waste of time. It really is. So, You have this opportunity every morning to ask Krishna anything you want. Krishna, help me with this, help me with that. If we can focus 2 hours a day on begging, praying to Krishna to help me, don't you think that's going to change our life a little bit? What do you think?
Yes.
Of course, right? Now, are we missing the opportunity to do that?
Yes.
A little bit, a lot, hour after Japa, we kind of, If you see a devotee's into Japa, you see him on the first beat and last beat, nothing changed. It's just like his energy is the same. Why? Because he realizes Krishna's there and he's praying to him. And I'm not going to space out. I can ask him to help me for 2 hours. Wow, that's amazing. I could conquer the universe with that. Isn't it? And that's why Prabhupada said, I could see from your list you're committing non-aparad. Because if you were chanting properly, you wouldn't have this on your list. So, can we chant together?
Yes.
Let's chant together. We have 6 minutes. And I have a book called Japa Affirmations that if you're interested in it, it can be very helpful for your Japa. I have other books. They've allowed us to set up a table here, so when you go out, you can get it. We'll keep the table going. And Hare Krishna. Before you chant, don't just hit your beads and go, before you chant, try to meditate on what we just learned and get in that mood. This is a relationship. Krishna's here. I'm creating my own Krishna. I can ask him for anything. Wow, that's amazing. You can ask Krishna for anything through the holy name. Not through your head, through your heart. Okay? Do I have to 1:30? No.
Yes.
Oh! Fantastic. Okay, so we can chant. I started at 12, I had to 1:30.
Yeah.
Oh, super. I'm super excited. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's Jai-worthy on steroids. Maybe chant a couple rounds together. If you, okay, now that I have more time, okay, I can facilitate a little bit. Let me facilitate a little bit. This is very important. We've been talking, Kalakanta brought this up about emotions and feel, and so when I do Japa retreats and I say, we want to feel, like what does it mean? Krishna, I want to serve you, I want to come closer to you. But there are various meanings acharyas have given us. Bring my heart closer to you, make me qualified to serve you. There's so many meanings. And I say, don't think about the meaning, but put the feeling into your japa. And then you'll get a man who'll raise his hand and says, Prabhu, I have a question. What do you mean by feeling? I've been there, done that. You think of something, no emotion. That same thought, when you feel it, is a feeling, right? We were talking this morning at breakfast. A lot of us know Krishna loves us, but we don't feel it, right? It's a thought that's not an emotion, right? So, if you're chanting, okay, Mahatma Prabhu said I should feel, Hare Krishna, am I feeling? I'm trying to feel. I don't know if I'm feeling. If you don't know if you're feeling, you know what the answer is? You're not feeling. Because you're thinking, you're in your head, right? You're going to tell us more about it? Because if you have to think whether or not you're feeling, the answer is no, you're not. You're thinking. So, you want to kind of feel what is it that I need? Like right now, this moment, what do I need? Because I can ask Krishna for that. And so, I'm going to ask, but I'm going to ask with my heart. I'm not going to ask with my head. I'm going to feel it. And when you feel it, you put that feeling into the Maha Mantra, and then you have arrived. That is proper chanting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It made sense to two people.
Could we get an example?
Yeah. Okay, we use myself as an example. That so often, when I'm chanting, then I travel and I'll go somewhere and they'll treat me like I'm a pure devotee or something. I'm like, okay. I guess I have to become a pure devotee now. You know, I got 2 hours this morning, you know. Krishna, can we do this morning? Like, can we like get me up there because they think I'm up there? Can I play the part? You know, can I do this? So, I'm personally feeling like, no, I'm not that, I'm not qualified, but I'm willing to do it because Prabhupada, you asked me to do it. So it's like, I really need help, Krishna. Hare Krishna, you know, it's like, anything that's in there that could interfere with my service, can you just shoot it, destroy it? Ravinda Sarup said, I put lasers on my narthas and Hare Krishna, I'm telling Krishna, smash it. You know? But the point is, you have to feel like this is important. Like, what is important to you? Like, what is your biggest obstacle? You know, what is driving you crazy? What do you really need from Krishna? That, what you're feeling, then you just chant from there. Because you don't have to think what I need, you know what you need. Right? So, just try to feel into what you want the Holy Name to do for you right now and just go with it. And if you do it well, it will intensify your chanting. And you'll see, you can be present the whole time because the need is so strong. Right? Is it lust? Is it like pride came up this morning? I'm so proud. Krishna, please help me. If you realize this anartha is destroying your life in some way, materially or spiritually, and you really need to conquer it, it's very easy to empower your chanting. Whatever that obstacle is. And for some of us, it's not an obstacle. It's just I need to be on a higher stage. It's like, Krishna, give me a taste. I want a taste. It's 50 years. You know, please. Or a drop of, help me understand what it means to be humble. You know, whatever you need. So if the need is strong, there'll be an emotional connection. You put that into japa, and you're not going to be thinking because you're feeling it. Does that help? Yeah. So before you start chanting, kind of allow yourself to connect to whatever that need is. And then when you feel it, start chanting. And if you lose it, stop, go back, reconnect. And there's no right or wrong feeling for anybody. It's totally up to you. And if you're doing that, you'll be surprised, you'll be absorbed. Yes?
You mentioned the unplug, right? When we ask want to Krishna, when we ask something to Krishna, many times our wants can be an abstraction to unplug. So
Our wants can be what?
Can be an abstraction for us to unplug from our world, our wants. You know,
Can be what? A different one?
To unplug from the world.
Yes.
What's the problem? How to do it?
You mentioned that you unplug from this world and connect to Krishna.
Yeah.
Many times our asks and wants are of this world.
Yes.
Then it comes as an obstacle.
Okay, he's saying, okay, his ask and wants are of this world. When you chant japa, you can ask and want all you want. Don't do it during japa. During japa, you ask Krishna for pure bhakti. That's what japa is. Some may say, oh, there's a verse in the second canto, whatever desires you would have, you know, but that's for undergoing. You know, it's like, if you don't know what the 10 offenses are they? It's namabas. So why did you tell me the 10 offenses? Now I'm breaking them and I'm making up one, right? If I don't know about Jesus, I go to purgatory. You just told me about Jesus. And I'm like, I'm going to hell because I don't accept. I mean, it's a fact. You can't, unless you avoid the 10 offenses, you can't get to shoot them up. You can't chant purely. So, japa is for connecting with Krishna. That's what it's for. Right? This is our time to connect every day. This is where we do it most deeply. And a lot of us like kirtan because it's social. And those who like kirtan sometimes have a really hard time with japa. For all of those who have a hard time with japa, I just want to say, this is personal. It's just you and Krishna. It's really special. Okay. Can we do it?
Yes!
Oh, real men can do it. Real men control their minds. Okay, I want to give you one other thing. You know, I have 16 hours to give you in like an hour. This is a really beautiful thought. We were doing a self-care workshop and we were trying to look at things in our life that are really problematic and getting rid of them. And I heard a teacher say, phrase it in this way: I give up the need to, rather than say I give up this, I give up the need to. That puts it in a different, like, I need something that's bad for me. Like, that doesn't make sense. So then I immediately thought, I give up the need to think of other things when I chant japa. So that's a little, there for you when your mind starts going lunar, solar, universal, galactic, etc. You can just remind yourself, I give up the need to think of my material needs and other things, and just, I give up the need for anything other than this desire to connect with Krishna. Okay? Is that all right?
Thanks.
Uh-oh, we're starting, it's contagious. He has a question.
Prabhu, my apologies, I came a bit late, maybe you talked about this already, but what do you think about the idea of, like, if you think about, oh, I need to do this, you remember I need to do this, usually I'll put it in my phone, in my reminder to do it later, and then I can focus on it.
Yeah. Personally, I think that's a horrible idea. It's like saying, divorce is off the table, but just in case, let's have the papers out here, sign them. It's like you're allowing your mind, well, just in case I think of something, I can write it down. Just like, no. You don't have to do that. That's a crutch, you don't really need it. I mean, okay, if you're running Google or something, if you forget something, you lose $10 billion, all right, that's different. Or you're a doctor or someone's life's at stake. But in general, it's a crutch that makes it difficult for you. Because if you understand the nature of determination and vows, you have to eliminate everything other than what you want to do. That's how you do it. And if you allow something, well, just in case, then it's like, that's not good. That's my personal experience. So when people say, just have a little list, I'm like, no.
You have fantastic realizations while you're chanting japa, and we think you can't remember what. I missed the last part.
He's saying, I have all these fantastic realizations when I'm chanting japa, and then I can't remember them. You don't need them. If you can't remember them, you needed to chant with japa. And if you need those realizations, they'll come back. Or maybe Krishna will give you better ones later. Yeah. I think of shlokas, verses, philosophy, giving the class today, all these things. It's okay, but once you get into the japa zone, then you realize what I said. Yeah, it's like you don't want to leave it. Why would you want to leave it? You're getting so much juice. You're really connecting with Krishna in a very deep way. You're praying. Why do you want to stop praying for what you need to write down? I have to buy a pencil. Does it make sense? We better. Okay, one more question.
What's the color of the Japa zone?
The color of it? My color? It's colored with love. I can tell you my experience on the best days. There's nothing else. You actually, it's you and Krishna. There's nothing else. And you're like, oh my God. That was a pun by accident. Oh my God, I'm sitting next to God and I can ask Him anything. And I can spend 2 hours just talking to Him. Imagine every day Krishna, 5 o'clock, and you got a little room and you sit down. So you get to talk to Him for 2 hours. Would that be good? Would that be good?
Yes!
Well, my dear devotees, you get to do that every day, except sometimes you turn your back on Him and don't talk to Him. That's what's going on. So if you contextualize japa as Krishna's there listening, and like Partha Prabhu was saying, realizations are coming, then Krishna's talking back. You just keep letting him talk, whatever. If the realization is really important, it'll stick. Or it'll come back tomorrow, or you'll remember something. And just, you ever chant japa and just praying Krishna, Krishna, but you're totally absorbed. And it's like, bing, I got the answer. Okay. It's such an opportunity. And it's so sad for me to see devotees when I go to temples, I'm like, can I kill you? Don't chant like that. I literally feel like going up to them and like, don't chant like that. Yes, you don't realize what you're missing. and all your problems are coming from this, and there's so much nectar. So there's a deep connection there, and there's deep prayer. And you know how Japa retreat started? Satyananda went off to some cave in Govardhan and just chanted all day. And he was like, oh my God, I never knew. I never chanted like the same that was in it. I never chanted this holy name before. It's a new one. It's a new name. I had to figure out how devotees can get this name, because this name really works. The other name kind of put me to sleep. This name is doing something to me that the other name didn't. So he got excited and said, I have to help with this. So I'll allure you with this little carrot. That name exists somewhere potentially in your life. And if you connect with it, it's huge experience. So I've been really pushing devotees to improve japa. That's like one of the main things I do, because I feel like if we don't do that, then everything else is like, kind of like, why did we do the second thing when we didn't perfect the first thing? Does that make sense? Are we ready?
Yes!
Turn to the person next to you and tell them, this japa is going to be amazing. This is another technique. You get what you expect. If you're like, whoa, what Mahatma Prabhupada said sounds fantastic, but I can't do that. I'm sure my job is just going to be as bad as it always is. And if you think that way, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be as bad as it always is. So go in with some positive expectation. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. We've got 20 minutes, so maybe we'll go 15 and just share a little bit. It's going to be an amazing 15 minutes. Yes or yes?
Yes!
All right, you guys are real men. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, we're gonna do a little sharing, but I'm bad at promoting myself and I always forget. So I just want to make sure. We have an app. On that app, there is full Japa retreat. You can self-paced course you can take. There are other courses also. So I didn't want to leave without that. And on my website, which is mahatmadas.com, there's access to all kinds of talks on Japa. So what I'd like to do now is just ask anyone who would like to share their realizations, and they don't have to be good, they can be bad, because bad, if you have struggles, it's a teaching moment. But we'd just like to hear from anyone. If you raise your hand, then Father is going to come like Garuda and show up in front of you. Yes? There's another thing I learned, and this seems counterintuitive. When you're teaching, instinctively you walk like this because he's going to be speaking. So now all of you don't count anymore because it's just me and him, right? So they taught us when he's over there, I go over here. So now we're all listening together. Interesting. Huh? Something we can say. Okay, yes.
First of all, thank you to everyone in the room for sharing that beautiful Japa session with me as I shared it with you. One practical side was, first few rounds, in the beginning, I found myself yawning a few times. And I normally, as a habit, would just continue through that yawning. Today, by your recommendation, I stopped and I paused and then reconnected and continued. I'm not so qualified to see Krishna present during my japa. I don't see him sitting across the table. There have been moments where I have. I strive for a relationship with Krishna that is a quiet one in a way, where when I am chanting, it's not that there's no void, but I'm really listening to the mantra, trying to hear the vowels, so each sound. What to speak on that? Like, I'm not going to say how does one rate that, but this is what oftentimes I feel I need in my relationship with Krishna, is this quiet, this very peaceful, steady, and I slow everything down.
Yeah.
Is that good, bad japa?
It sounds like it's good. Sounds like you say it's good. Remember that Prabhupada said, chant, hear yourself chanting sincerely. So that hearing, that means Krishna, you're hearing, you're feeling Krishna's presence, talk to him.
I don't see it as we're talking. I see it more, I feel it as I'm speaking to him, but he's not speaking to me.
Oh yeah, well, that's good. Keep listening. You don't even have to listen, it'll come. That's good, yeah. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna. Who else would like to share? Okay, over here. I'm going over here.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I came a little late as well, and that may have been due to my bad habits. I was finishing up with the drama course, and I was thinking, do I really want to go to a Japa retreat? That's reinforcing my bad habits of Japa not being the top priority. And just coming in and, I guess reinforcing that aspect of just focus there and chant. It's actually when I had the realization that it's more enjoyable doing that little bit of hard work than just trying to chant your Japa here, there, and everywhere. And I know from those bad habits, it's going to be a practice to try to reinstill every single day. And these reminders are really good to try to switch the script.
Thank you. Beautiful. The pain of that austerity of chanting Japa well is less painful than the pain of regret for not having done it. And he made a good point. If ever in your temple or you have an opportunity to go to a Japa workshop, it's showing Krishna you're interested in japa. Automatically it gets better just by showing that interest. Right? Yes? You think? Yeah. Okay, it's 1:30. I have some bad news for everyone. It's 1:30 and we have to take prasadam. We could take a vote and cancel prasadam.
There's more Japa.
Prasadam is canceled today and continue chanting.
The Manta retreat is a retreat of choices. Those of you who would prefer to stay here and continue chanting, you're welcome to do that. The other 76 of you, momentarily downstairs. So, prasadam again in the prasadam hall, and we reconvene back here at 3 o'clock. So we have a full hour and a half for prasadam or for japa, or taking advantage of the beautiful Vrindavan countryside.